Hello, people of YouTube. My name is Steve Gray, and today I'm going to be talking about the best Gibson Les Paul you can buy for the money or for your buck, for your dollar, whatever you want to call it. And that guitar is right here. Show you there. There's the front. There's the back. So, what is this guitar? This guitar is a 1994 Gibson Les Paul Studio. So what sets this apart from other Gibson Les Paul studios or Gibson Les Pauls in general? So basically, the specs on this guy are pretty much, I'm going to put it down, pretty much the same exact specs as a Gibson Les Paul Custom from the same time period and even today. The only difference being the Les Paul Customs have the bigger block inlays and they have binding on the body, the headstock, and the neck of the guitar with your fret nubs, obviously. And the maple top is going to be nicer as well. It's not just going to be a flame maple top. Typically, it will be a flame maple top or quilted maple top, depending on the guitar. So what makes these early 90s, about 90 to 94, Les Paul Studios special? And even a couple years before that, too, I think they were doing them, too. Probably around 89 or so. Depends whether or not you care if the guitar has dot inlays or not, because if you get into the 80s, a lot of the studios have dot inlays on them and they don't have the standard trapezoid inlay on the guitar. So, weight-wise, a lot of people complain about weight relief. Not weight relieved. These guys are standard Les Paul weight, heavy guitar, probably 8-9 pounds, and maybe even pushing 10 pounds, depending on guitar to guitar. As I said, you don't know until you try it, or if you just want one online, I mean, you go for it and you kind of get what you get. The fretboard is ebony. Ebony. Same that they used to use on Gibson Les Paul Customs. I think they're using Richelite now. Basically, they switched to rosewood, blah, blah, blah. It's harder to get. You don't really see ebony on too many Gibson Les Pauls these days. Only certain custom models will have them. Pickup-wise, they are not burstbuckers. A lot of people do not like the burstbucker pickups. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I haven't played with them enough to really form an opinion on them. But I do love these guys, which is the 490R and the 498T pickup set. That is also used in the Gibson Les Paul Custom range quite a bit. It's pretty much same period. As I said, pretty much it's the same exact electrical specs and wood specs of a Gibson Les Paul Custom in a studio with no binding and a less fancy paint job. So the top, you can find these probably 2 and even 3-piece maple tops. I don't think I've ever seen a 4 or 5-piece maple top, but it does happen once in a while. But it is your standard maple top. I don't know if you can see. It almost looks like on this guitar, this one and the white one, you can actually see the maple cap basically through the guitar. Let's see, what else about this guitar? There's 3 colors. You got wine red, which is this one. There is white, and there is black. Those are the only 3 colors they made at that time. If you see any other colors, that's probably not a real Les Paul studio. Or it is a later or earlier year. A lot of people don't like the faded, too. A lot of the Les Paul studios do like a faded or matte finish. And this is your typical standard glossy, shiny finish. This guy has speed knobs as well. The Gibson Deluxe tuners, 1-piece neck. And does not have the original strap buttons, I believe is what they're called. These are actually strap locks, which is a fine upgrade in my opinion. Who cares? What you want to look for in these guitars. Look for headstock breaks, because a lot of them, Gibson is known for headstock breaks, unfortunately, and you will find a lot of them with headstock breaks. And actually, if you do find one with a headstock break and you play it and you like it, you can actually typically get that for a lot cheaper if you don't care that it had a headstock break. And sometimes the repairs are so good, or even better, depending on how much glue they shove in it, that it's equally as good, if not better, than the original. And you can probably even get those specific guitars for the $300 to $500 range. Price-wise on these guys, compared to new studios, you'll be looking at $1,000 to $1,200, I believe. This guy, early 90s, max out about $900 to $1,000. $1,000 being super 100% mint, original gig bag, and they did not come with hard shell cases, so keep that in mind. Original wrench tool, original everything. Basically, somebody left it in their basement for 20 years, and you got about $1,000. They really don't go up any higher than that. Typically, I see them in the $800 to $900 range when you go to eBay or Reverb. People do ask more money for them, but they're not selling for that price, unfortunately. This one I got lucky with. I got it for $550 with a Gibson chainsaw hard shell case. And it's in pretty good condition. It did need a setup. It did not come with a wrench for the truss rod. Keep in mind that Gibson has kind of their own specific truss rod wrench. So buying one of these used, because obviously you're not going to find one of these new, it's probably not going to come with one of those, and you're probably going to have to go online, because I know I went to Guitar Center. How does Guitar Center not sell Gibson Les Paul friggin' truss rod wrenches? Do you think that would be just a common thing? And I went to a local music shop, and he did not have any as well. He did offer to set up my guitar, but that's kind of why I was getting it. I didn't want to pay to have somebody set up the guitar when I can do it myself. The bridge, two-pneumatic bridge, you'll see a bunch of different ones of these. They don't have their own hardware. Gibson doesn't make their own hardware. They outsource it. This specific set was made in Germany. Some of them, the washers will either be bigger or smaller, and some of them will have like a spring to basically hold the intonation screws in place. This one does not have that. All the tail pieces are typically like the same thing. There's not really a different variation there. So as I said, what to look for twisted necks too. How you do that is, you can't, probably not going to see it from the camera, but if I hold the guitar like this and you look down the neck, it is straight. There is a slight bow in it currently. I did that, tiny back bow. That's just for the action and for the relief of the neck, for the frets so nothing is buzzing. As I said, you're bound to find one of these that play like crap, unfortunately, because it's like a 20 to close to 30-year-old guitar, depending on what year you get. And you can actually even go in a 95, because obviously they were using some of the leftover ebony from 94 in 95. What to know for the year-wise. So 90 to 93 is going to be the first digit and the fifth digit of the serial number. 94 is the centennial year. There's nothing really special like between a 93 and 94. There's not, like, spec-wise, there's no difference. The only difference is for 94, all the serial numbers across their entire line, the 94 was first. They did that because it was the 100th anniversary. They wanted the 94 to be their 100th anniversary. So on the back of this headstock, the first two numbers are actually the date. So that's the only thing you really need to realize about dating-wise if you are putting them into like a serial number checker, because I did that with this guitar and it came up as a 1990, but in actuality it is a 94. And why do I want the 94? Because that's when I was born, was 94. So this guitar is as old as I am, which I thought was really, really cool. Electronic-wise, make sure everything's working. Try to make sure everything's original. If you don't care if it's original or not, typically if they don't have the original pickups, they will go for less money. Even if they put like some sort of fancy, nice Seymour Duncans in them, or like bare knuckle pickups, Fishman Fluence or whatever, because it's not original. Typically Gibson people want their stuff original, and it does typically make the value a little bit less, or it could be equal to, depending on if you like that specific pickup change or not. But keep in mind, for collector purposes, they want everything original. Although most people don't really care about these strap buttons. Some do, some don't. I might order an original pair, but I'm playing this thing out, so yeah. Also, another cool thing is some of the new studios, I believe, they're switching to plastic for the input jack plates. These ones are all nice and metal. Nice and metal. But yeah, there's really not much that to say left. Oh, twisting words. But yeah, guys, sorry, I haven't made a video in a while, so I'm a little tongue-tied right now. I think I'm getting sick too, so that's always fun, getting a cold. But yeah, so make sure the tuners work. Make sure the serial number is correct, made in USA. There aren't really a lot of fakes, as far as I can tell. I have only ever seen one Gibson Les Paul Studio that was a fake. I couldn't tell if it was a real ebony board or not. It looked like it. It could have just been something else that was dyed black. You do see that from now and then. But typically the Chinese manufacturers won't make the studios because that's not where the money is. Typically it is in the signature guitars and the fancier models. Obviously they're going to want to get the most money they can, so that's why they make it look like that model and try to rip you off. The number one way to check to see if these guys are actual Gibson Les Pauls is if you unscrew the truss rod cover. If it is a hex wrench and not a socket wrench, some sort of socket wrench, hex wrench means it's fake, socket means it's real. That is the easiest way to spot one of these if they're fake. As I said, most of these won't be fake. You're not going to find one of these new. It is going to be a little bit of a process to track one down that's in halfway decent condition. Just price-wise, because I was trying to find one for the price range that I specifically wanted, it took quite a while. I was on eBay a lot. I couldn't play the guitar, so that made me really nervous because I've never bought a guitar that I haven't been able to play first. I bid on a few of them and got outbidded. The price went too high. But really no kind of fret there. Another thing that I should mention before I leave you guys alone to search for Gibson Les Paul Studios is because of the ebony fretboard, they are a little bit more maintenance. You got to make sure to oil them more. So on this one, it feels like the ebony fretboard is bigger than the wood of the neck, the mahogany, but it's not. It's because it shrunk a little bit at one point. So there's lacquer all the way up the side of the ebony fretboard. I don't know if you can see. I'm going to try to see if you can see that one crack, especially on the 12th fret. You can see it, a little bit of yellow to it. But there's a little tiny lip, but it's not really an issue. I don't feel it when I'm playing. It doesn't get in my way. As long as I keep oiling it regular with some sort of fretboard oil, lemon oil. I use Old English lemon oil. Haven't had any issues. Works fine. Also, be mindful of cracks. If it's a small, tiny hairline crack, it doesn't matter. You're not really going to see it, so who cares? If it's a bigger crack, because ebony fretboards are known to crack because they shrink or expand depending on the weather, the climate, and if somebody actually takes care of that guitar or not. So keep in mind a little bit more maintenance if you get the ones with the ebony fretboard. Same years, as I said, 94, 95. If you go 95, you can do this. It's basically the same specs with a rosewood board. You might be able to find an ebony board on a 95, but typically they are rosewood. So as I said, just keep all that in mind. And as I said, Gibson Les Paul, best bang for your buck. And actually my first Gibson Les Paul. So my first Gibson guitar ever. I have an Epiphone Les Paul, and I've owned like 3 Epiphone Les Pauls. Still have one because I really like the one. Not getting rid of that. It's my precious. But this guy's probably going to stay with me for probably most of the rest of my life because it's, as I said, same year I was born. I don't really like spending more than, at the moment, I don't really like spending more than like $500 on a guitar. And I spent a little bit more than I wanted to on this, but it was all worth it. It plays excellent. And maybe I'll do a sound video demo for you guys in the near future. My name is Steve Gray. Please like, subscribe, comment your thoughts down below. Have a good one.